Sometimes, the moment people clap the loudest is the moment you're closest to breaking. And on one unforgettable night, Simon Cowell walked onto the stage believing it was just another show, but what happened next nearly ended everything. Today, I'm telling you the truth the world was never meant to hear. Simon Cowell nearly died on stage, the truth revealed. The lights were blinding. The audience was roaring. The cameras were rolling. It was supposed to be the biggest night of the season, an episode designed to shake the internet, break viewership records, and stamp another victory in Simon Cowell's career. But destiny had its own script written, a script that almost stopped his heartbeat. Simon walked to his seat at the judges' panel, wearing his usual confidence, the kind that made millions believe he was unbreakable. But that night, something was different. Those close to him say they saw it in his eyes: fatigue, pressure, and a heaviness no one could explain. Yet Simon smiled. The show had to go on. The audience stood in excitement as the first performer came on stage. But in the middle of the applause, Simon felt something sharp, something wrong. A sudden twist in his chest. A flash of dizziness. A coldness running down his arm. He blinked rapidly, trying to hide it. Cameras were everywhere. Millions were watching. He leaned forward, steadying himself, hoping no one noticed. But a few seconds later, everything went black. At first, the crowd thought it was part of the show. Bright lights burst across the stage, music hit its peak, and the contestants' performance grew louder. But behind the judges' table, Simon Cowell's life was slipping away second by second. The producers panicked. One assistant rushed toward him. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then, his body slumped sideways, crashing against the edge of the table. The microphone thudded onto the floor. That sound, one small, echoing crack, ended the illusion of safety. The music stopped. Someone shouted. Cameras cut away. The contestant froze in shock. Simon, can you hear me? He was barely conscious. Paramedics rushed toward him while the audience gasped in horror. What they saw wasn't the confident judge with the sharp tongue, but a man silently fighting for every breath. For years, Simon was the symbol of power. The man who built stars, crushed egos, and changed lives with a single sentence. But in this moment, he wasn't a TV giant. He was a fragile human being caught between life and something darker. They placed an oxygen mask on him as the studio buzzed with fear. Later, a paramedic revealed that Simon's heartbeat had dropped dangerously low and his breathing was inconsistent. If they had delayed even a minute, the story would have ended right there on stage. The world would never have known the truth. While the medical team worked, Simon drifted in and out of consciousness. He could hear faint whispers, voices that felt distant and hollow. He heard a producer calling his name. He heard crying, and then he heard a whisper within himself, a voice that said, "Is this how it ends?" It was strange. In the middle of chaos, with dozens shouting instructions, checking vitals, running wires and cables, Simon felt a moment of complete silence inside. A moment where time stopped. A moment where he saw his entire life flash by. Successes, failures, arguments, dreams, sacrifices. He thought of his son. He thought of all the nights he stayed awake building a career that demanded more than it gave. He thought of the persona he had created. Fearless, untouchable, always in control. But here he was, powerless. When they finally lifted him onto a stretcher, he felt an overwhelming fear, not of dying, but of not being able to finish everything he had started. The work, the dreams, the legacy. The producers announced the show was cancelled for the night. Cameras stopped. Fans were escorted out. Rumors began spreading before Simon even reached the ambulance doors. Some said it was a heart attack. Others claimed exhaustion. A few whispered darker theories. But the truth was simpler and sadder. Simon had been ignoring the signs for months. His schedule was insane. He barely slept. He lived on caffeine, adrenaline, pressure, and expectations. His body had been signaling distress, but he pushed through, because the world expected nothing less. Doctors later revealed that Simon had experienced a sudden, acute cardiac stress episode, something extremely dangerous. If the paramedics had reached him late, the outcome would have been irreversible. When he finally woke up in the hospital, the room was quiet. Machines beeped softly beside him. A nurse adjusted his oxygen. And for the first time in years, Simon Cowell felt vulnerable. "What happened?" he whispered. "You almost didn't make it," the doctor said gently. Simon looked away, processing the truth. This was the wake-up call he never wanted but desperately needed. His family visited. His friends visited. Even performers he once criticized sent messages of love and prayers. And for the first time, Simon felt what he had rarely allowed himself to feel. Gratitude. And fear. Because now he knew, life wasn't guaranteed. Fans later learned pieces of the story, but the deeper truth, the emotional, human truth, remained hidden from the public. Simon didn't want sympathy. He didn't want the world to see him weak. But the truth is, he wasn't weak. He was human. And humans fall. In the days that followed, Simon made decisions he never thought he would. He reduced his workload. He spent more time with family. He gave himself permission to rest. And most importantly, he admitted that even the strongest people need help sometimes. If that night had gone differently, the world would have lost a legend. A creator. A visionary. A fighter. But destiny gave him another chance. And he took it. Sometimes life whispers. Sometimes it screams. And on that stage, life screamed at Simon Cowell, reminding him that strength isn't in pretending to be unbreakable, but in knowing when to slow down, breathe, and live. His near-death wasn't a tragedy, it was a transformation. And maybe, it's a reminder for all of us to listen to our bodies before they fall silent.